You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
You know, I think German is my favorite language, and I don't speak it. I took it in school for a semester in high school. Didn't do great with it, but I remembered some important things, like I learned Ich weiß nicht, which pretty much just is, I don't know, which can get you out of just about every conversation in German. But this is a language that has these super specific words, you know, like Schadenfreude, which is a word specifically means that you get enjoyment from the suffering of others. So not only did the German culture think that that word is necessary, but that there are people in Germany who get enjoyment from the suffering of others. So I'm always impressed by learning new German words, especially the ones that are super specific. And I came across this one, and it's been a while, but I was looking for something to talk about in the opening, and this was in my notes. And the word is Morgenmuffel. Morgenmuffel means a person who is grumpy in the morning and doesn't like to wake up early. Now, here we just call that someone who needs coffee, which is odd. I don't drink coffee, but yeah. If you're grumpy in the morning and don't like to wake up early, according to the Germans, you're Morgenmuffel. Morgenmuffel. That's a mouthful. Stay tuned for the Dan WIckline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan WIckline Show here on The Experience. It is May 18th, and we are flying through this year. Did you guys notice that yet? I mean, we're well into it. Schnapsidi. All right, Lucia, you got to tell me what that one means. Hey, Triple B, good to see you. I hope you're driving safe because you should be driving home right now. Ed, good to see you. And Lucia, thank you for the Twitter chat or the Twitter messages back and forth last night. I do have something new to read now, the Horus Heresy that I'll be starting on this weekend as I am painting more Warhammer figures. I got a few more built last night, and I'm 2 away from having the entire Combat Patrol box built, and then I just need to paint them. So, mind you, I have more than just the Combat Patrol box. I also have Grandmaster Voldus, Castellan Crow, and Caldor Drago. Because I'm one of those guys that likes to really collect things. Schnapps, the liquor ID, the idea of just a German word for a bad idea. Oh, I like it. Schnapsity. Schnapsity. Okay. Yeah, Germans have great words because, again, they just come up with those really specific ones, you know. Hey, Kenneth, good to see you. Glad you're here. All right. I'm going to go to the news in just a second, so I want to make sure JD's ready with the sound effect. All right, let's go to the news. Nice, we have a sound effect. I like it. All right, there's a lot of weird news today. It's kind of all over the place. James Gunn was recently talking about Christopher Reeves and the portrayal of Superman and Clark Kent in the original Superman the movie. Now, what he said about it, and of course he's going to be doing, he's going to be writing and directing Superman Legacy, so it's kind of important what he thinks about previous incarnations, what he's going to take from them. And since Reeves's portrayal is considered one of the more universally loved, um, what he thinks about it is important. So, what he has said is he was talking about how people talk about Reeves's portrayal and how they talk about his pureness and his hope and his goodness. And they talk about the way he played Clark as being so different than Superman and how he could turn that on in an instance. But he said that the thing that stood out to him the most is the playfulness of Superman in the scene where he's saving the cat. He's got that wry smile, and Gunn thinks that's one of the best parts of the movie is the playfulness of Superman, how he enjoys what he's doing. He likes helping human beings and likes saving them. And you know, to me, this sounds like the one tangible things you can point at that was kind of missing from Man of Steel. And that was the joy. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't hate Man of Steel. I actually enjoyed Man of Steel. I like the different take on Superman. But there is this kind of hope and joy and lust of life type of thing that Superman has, and we've seen it with Christopher Reeves, and we've seen it with Tyler Hoechlin on the TV right now, who also gets praised for being a great Superman. And I think that might have been what a lot of fans were missing in Henry Cavill's performance. And that's nothing to do with Henry. That we got a little bit of that. I think Joss Whedon tried to bring that back in some of the footage that they reshot, where he's talking to the kids after rescuing a burning building or stopping a burning building or whatever it was. But that scene is so horribly CGI'd because of the mustache that people don't take the moment that, you know, he's got that feel there. So maybe that is what was missing. So I don't know. I took that as kind of a positive for what we got coming up. All right. Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav was talking, and he thinks that consolidation is in the cards for these streaming platforms, you know, like Netflix and Disney Plus and HBO Max, or soon to be Max. He says there should be consolidation, but it's more likely to happen in the repackaging and marketing of products together. That's why I think makes sense. We have to, as an industry, reach that point. Now, he was talking during a Q&A at a media conference today. He says, it seems very clear that if we were to package this great product that we have with others, we would wake up tomorrow, and in each market, if we were the number 1 or 2 or 3 product, if we were marketing that with the number 2 and number 3 for a specific price, it would be great for consumers. It would probably reduce the churn. We would all be marketing one product, and it would provide a meaningful consumer experience. If we don't do it ourselves, though, I think it will be done for us and it will be Amazon or Apple or Roku who does it. They've already started. So I think that's pretty interesting to see that the big thing that Netflix offered was something that could get away from cable and all the channels. Because the problem is you buy cable and you get all these channels, but you don't watch the majority of them. And it's very expensive. Well, so we go to these streaming things where you pick one thing, this, that, but now there's so many of them that people are getting overwhelmed. So coming back to the point where you just buy one service for and a set price, and you get all of these, makes a lot of sense. But it's kind of like repackaging those things. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But I think Zaslav is right. I think that's going to be the future, whether Max and Disney Plus and Hulu and Peacock and all them do it themselves, or like right now you can sign on to Prime and then you can add in Showtime, or you could add in different packages. So let's see. Sounds like cable only now on the internet. Yeah, pretty much. And you've got certain cable channels like that too. Streaming services that basically are offering cable channels. I can't remember the one that's doing commercials right now, but I think standard cable companies are going to go the way of the past. We'll have internet providers, and then we'll have streaming providers, and they'll be separate. So let's see. JD said Zach had a completely different postmodern deconstruction of superheroes' take on Superman that was leading to a very dark place. It seemed to really speak to a certain audience, but was not what most expect from a Superman story. Yeah, very well put. So yeah, I think you got it right on the nose there. So all right, speaking of streaming services, Hulu has set a date for Futurama. The long-awaited revival of the animated series is set to premiere Monday, July 24th. New episodes will be released weekly during season 11, which consists of 10 episodes. Hulu previously announced a 20-episode order of the animated comedy in February of 2022. So it sounds like we're going to get at least 2 seasons at 10 episodes a season. We got some news from Marvel. Looks like they're going to get the whole band back together for Deadpool. Brianna Hildebrand and Shioli Katsuna have closed deals to return for Deadpool 3, joining Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman and many more of the threequel. Many more. In the threequel, the Sean Levy, who did Free Guy with Reynolds, will direct and produce for Marvel Studios. Hildebrand is, of course, coming back as her role from the first 2 films as Negasonic Teenage Warhead. She has the power to generate nuclear explosions. And Katsune will be coming back as Negasonic's girlfriend, Yukio, a Japanese mutant ninja introduced in Deadpool 2. Other Deadpool veterans who are coming back include Karan Soni, Leslie Uggams, Morena Baccarin, Stefan Kapicic, and Rob Delaney, who, of course, Karan Soni was Dopinder, Leslie Uggams was Blind Al, his roommate. Morena Baccarin was, of course, Vanessa, his fiancée, who was killed in the sequel. And Stefan Kapicic, of course, is Colossus. And Rob Delaney played Peter, the completely human member of X-Force, who I thought was just a great character. So, all right. Also from Marvel, they've released a new video. I've only seen it on their Instagram page so far. It isn't popping up on YouTube yet. But it's a video that they're kind of leaning into the creepiness side of the upcoming Secret Invasions. They're showing this video of the city. It's kind of in that washed out blue. It's more of a monotone thing. And it has this no word on Domino or Cable. So you have this washed out blue. And then the text over it says, "What if the ones closest to us, who we've trusted our whole lives, were someone else entirely? What if they weren't even human?" And then they roll into the Secret Invasion logo and the release date of June 21st. So, but that is kind of the gist of it is, what if you find out that there are aliens among us that have the ability to take over people's lives and become those people? I wonder, how would mass humanity handle that? Would they trust the people that are in their lives, or would they start questioning everything? And that's the one thing about Marvel that I think they come up with a lot of great situations like that, but then they don't really have time to explore that nature of the beast. It's like they're going to focus on it from Samuel L. Jackson's point of view and the people in Secret Invasion, But I'm kind of curious to know what that would be like for the average person on the street. The the guy who comes home and or and looks at his wife laying in bed next to him and looks at his children and his neighbors and stuff and starts questioning if it became general knowledge the scrolls exist, how much would that mess with people's heads? If somebody acted slightly out of character, would you suddenly not believe that they're who they are at all? So I think that would be a neat area to explore, but I don't know how much time Marvel will have to play with that. All right, got some more news. The name David Corenswet came up as one of the front runners to play Superman in Superman Legacy, and um, he's done a few things, but nothing huge. He's still a relatively unknown, but that might be changing as he's just signed on for the upcoming Storm Chaser thriller. It's not really a reboot, but they're kind of continuing Twister, and they're calling it Twisters with an S. So now they're just pluralizing it. And it is kind of an update on the 1996 film, and it's going to be directed by Minari. Excuse me. It's going to be directed by the Minari director Lee Isaac Chung, and according to Deadline, it's going to feature Maura Tierney from The Affair, Harry Hayden Patton from Downton Abbey, Sasha Lane from American Honey, Kiernan Shipka from Mad Men, Nick Dodani from Atypical, and Katie O'Brien from The Mandalorian and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So this is kind of interesting because the casting of Cornsweat Twisters is done by Warner Brothers Discovery. So it shows that they're already kind of seeing him as a leading man type, assuming that's his role in this. So it's possible that this is kind of that first step, or we tie him up here and then we know he's going to be ready for Superman if that shoots next. So it's possible. He does have a Smallville Superman vibe. He's got that build, and I think he would need to bulk up a little bit, but I think he would be a really good choice. And the few things I've seen him do, he is a good actor. So it's not like they're just casting by look. All right, and John Cena was recently on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast talking about Peacemaker Season 2 and if it was still happening. And the former wrestler said, I hope so. What I will say is I'm very excited about the new leadership at DC because I love James Gunn as a human being and Peter Safran as well. I have the utmost respect for them as professionals. I've never seen people so prepared and who take it so serious and have so much passion for it and aren't afraid to be themselves. Now, he also gave his thoughts on how he saw the DC universe going forward with the new leadership. He said, what you will see from DC in the future is the heart of James Gunn. He's not going to leave anything on the table. He will not make a vanilla movie that says movie at the end of it and then serve it to you. He will take chances. He will be brash. He'll do things his way, but you will get authentically his creative mind, which I think is brilliant. So whether the future of DC involves Peacemaker or not, as a fan and a friend of James, I'm excited for the future of DC. So now I know that Peacemaker is in the works. Peacemaker 2 is supposed to be happening, but it got kind of pushed aside because Gunn wrote all the scripts for that, or is the driving force behind that. So with him doing Superman, that became the top priority to get another Superman movie in the works. So that put Peacemaker aside, but they're going to do the Amanda Waller series in between. And there's probably going to have a lot of the characters like John Economos, stuff like that, coming in from Peacemaker into that. So we'll have to see just how that works out, but I'm fairly sure that Peacemaker 2 is going to happen. So let's see. JD says, they should really cast the kid from Brightburn. That'd be hilarious. Nice bringing that around. That's really good. All right, guys, we're going to take our first break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the new book from DK called Star Wars Timelines. Be right back.
Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find the link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales. Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rocket Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Go follow The Experience on TikTok at @the_EXP1 or scan the QR code on the screen. Our TikTok is like everywhere else we are, except you only have to deal with us for a minute. Seems like a win-win to me.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan WIckline Show here on The Experience. We got a great lineup today. Following this is What's in the Box, coming from Space Cadets Comic Shop. Then the Space Cadets themselves are on, and they'll be talking about classic movies, and they question just how many movies are there that stars Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan together. I ended up finding out what the answer to that is, and you'll have to tune in to find out. And then after that will be Sketch Up with John Ottinger, a artist and designer who's worked for making toys and video games and stuff for some of the biggest companies in the industry, you know, Disney, Warner Brothers, stuff like that. So tune in for all that. Stick around. It's going to be a great night. Also, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and stuff that are over there. I would appreciate it. Here's a couple quick bits of news that have popped up since we started the show. Disney World is going to be closing their Galactic Star Cruiser experience, which I believe was a Star Wars themed cruise ship. They'll be shutting that down in August. So if you really, really wanted to go, you should check quickly to see if there's any spots left. I guess they showed Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny at Cannes, and the film got a 5-minute standing ovation. That left Harrison Ford and James Mangold feeling very emotional. Also, the good news is in the recent announcement that the Indiana Jones movies are coming to Disney Plus at the end of this month. Also, will be coming the Young Indiana Jones Adventures, which I don't think we've really had a great opportunity to see, other than when they first aired or DVD. So it's really great that it'll be more accessible to people. The upcoming sequel to Gladiator has added 2 more, and one of them is May Calamaway, who was kind of the breakout star from Moon Knight. So it's nice to see her get some more work and have something to do until Moon Knight 2 comes out. Also, from actor Fred Heschinger is joining from White Lotus. So, all right. Also, was that? Nope. That looks like that's all the news. So we are caught up. So let's get. We got a thing here. Let's see. No, it was a Star Wars themed hotel stay, where they would take you from a spaceport in a windowless truck to a windowless hotel, dressed up to look like a Star Cruiser. So they'd kidnap you in cosplay. There's potential there. Ed says, have you heard anything about the name of the next Star Wars movie? It's been going around the internet. Somehow it was announced that the name is Heir to the Empire. I can see what's happening. No. There is, I have heard the rumor, and it's not going to be the next one. The next one is going to be James Mangold's Star Wars movie that's going to take place in the Old Republic, or back with the dawn of the Jedi. So that'll be the next one, according to the announcements from Disney or from Lucasfilms. What I think is happening is Dave Filoni did an interview where he talked about how the big bad for the New Republic era is going to be Grand Admiral Thrawn. And he spoke extremely highly of Timothy Zahn's work on Heir to the Empire and how that is, kind of informing a lot of what he does with these characters, and has even back when he was doing Rebels, and that Thrawn is going to end up being the big villain for the movie that will kind of tie all of the New Republic era together, which Filoni is directing. I think people are extrapolating from that it's going to be called Heir to the Empire. But there's been no official announcement of it. But that, like I said, that's the rumor going around. So, and yeah, I mean, it absolutely could be, because they are pulling from that a lot. So, all right, we are going to get into ordered a book. I got this one because of another one. There was an announcement that Marvel is going to put out a book that's an official timeline of the MCU. And with how much I cover the MCU and how many questions there are about what happened when, and where were the Eternals through all this stuff, and where were these people and those people, I thought, great, they're going to give us an official timeline. I'm all for that. And it's going to break down, this happened here, this cartoon happened in the middle here, this TV show, this one overlaps that one. And I don't know how in depth it'll go, if it'll include any, it'll be a good chance for us to see if, like the Netflix shows, if they count, if, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. counts, any of that kind of stuff. And so I was looking at that, and it turns out, well, the same company is putting out a Star Wars timeline book, and I thought, well, let me get that, because there's other stuff that would be neat. And yeah, that's the cover there. It's from DK, and if you're not familiar with DK, they put out a lot of interesting books. I have other DK books, but this is the one that, probably the most recent one I bought before the Star Wars one, And this is the Marvel Studios character encyclopedia. And I do like these books because they're very colorful, they're very well put together, and, you know, they separate them in a lot of ways, categorically wise, they make a lot of sense. But there's always little things in the book that makes you go, wait a minute. It's like, for instance, this book. There are some odd people who are included and excluded from the book. I was trying to find a... Okay, here's a good example. In the book, Anthony gets his own page. The flying ant gets his own page. All three members of the ex-cons get their own pages each. Cassie gets a page. Her stepfather gets a page. You know who doesn't get a page? Her mom. Why they just randomly left her out, where they could have done the page of the stepfather as her parents. It could have been both of them. They could have done the ex-cons. I mean, did Dave need his own page? Kurt, Dave, and Lewis? I mean, Lewis, yeah, but Kurt and Dave, you could have put all three of them on the same page. But there are other bigger people that didn't get included in here. You know who's not in here? The Collector. Collector was a major part of the first movie of Guardians of the Galaxy. You would think that he would show up. He's an elder of the universe. His brother was introduced later on, the Grand Master. No. But every member of the Howling Commandos gets a page. So I always find that odd. Who gets included and who gets excluded. But the other thing that you have to keep in mind when you buy a book like this is that they become obsolete the moment you buy them. Maybe likeness use limits for those actors. It's possible. But, I mean, that seems kind of weird that Judy Greer said no. Well, that's a good question. It is... I'll see if Judy Greer... Oh, no. Judy Greer is right there on the page with her husband. So... So yeah, but most of these, like this is kind of phase 3. Oh, thank you, Ed. Phase 1, 2, and 3. So it's kind of like, okay, the cap on, maybe they'll put a second volume out and do all those characters. But when you get something like this, the Star Wars Timeline book, which is much heavier than it should be, but it is. This pretty much is already obsolete. This didn't even come out, and they added to the universe already. The early page breaks down, everything is broken down based off of the era it's in. So you have an overview of the universe. Then you've got the High Republic era, the Fall of the Jedi era, the Reign of the Empire era, the Age of Rebellion era, the New Republic era, and the Rise of the First Order. Now, as of this book, which came out last week, those were the eras. But we know that Disney's Celebration, they put up their Star Wars canon timeline, and they have 2 other eras on there. They have the New Jedi Order, which is the far future, and they have, was it the Rise of the Jedi? The Dawn of the Jedi. So you have the Dawn of the Jedi era and the Old Republic era. So those are two eras before the High Republic and one after everything, and they're not mentioned in the book. I think the Old Republic name gets dropped, but it basically says early history. We begin with what we know so far as the dawn of galactic civilization, the origins of the Jedi, then explore the glory years of the Old Republic. And all that's literally all they say about it. And that takes place from 26,000 BBY to 501 BBY. And if you're not a super Star Wars geek and don't understand what BBY means, all of Star Wars time is based on one event, similar to the way we tell time. Why there's a BC and an AD. Before Christ, after, it's a Latin term, but basically after the birth of Christ. So year zero is the birth of Christ. The event they use for all of their timeline is the Battle of Yavin, which is what they call the destruction of the Death Star. So everything is either before or after the Battle of Yavin. BCE and CE now, is that what we're using? I don't know what that is, but okay. So this breaks down rather interestingly in the different eras, and then they go through Anno Domini or something like that. Yeah, I knew it was Latin, and I just didn't remember how to pronounce it. The other interesting thing this book does, besides already being obsolete, is it takes everything into account. Now, with the MCU, you have the Marvel movies, you have the TV series, and you have What If. Everything else is considered outside of canon, unless they bring something in specifically. This has all the movies, all the TV shows, all the animated shows, or all the canon animated shows, and some video games, and the comics. So there are certain things in the comics that show up in this, just like there's certain things from Jedi Fallen Order. Cal Kestis is in this book. Most of the High Republic right now is based off of comic books and novels. You know, they haven't really gotten into any live action stuff from the High Republic. So it is all comic book art. So if you haven't had a chance to catch up on the High Republic, it all breaks down here. Everything from the Great Disaster. And that's the main catalyst of the High Republic, is that there is a group called the Nihil who have figured out how to travel through the hyperspaceways on different paths that are generally used by the galactic or by the High Republic and basic traders and stuff like that. So they have their own routes, which allow them to, get out of trouble and stuff. But the problem is that they go through at one point, crash into somebody in hyperspace. That ship comes out of hyperspace and crashes into a planet, causing the Great Disaster. So let's see. I think it's Year of Our Lord. Okay. And yeah, Lucia, this is a pretty cool book so far. I've only had it for about a day. It showed up here at 5 a.m. yesterday morning. So, but it is a great mix of the different eras. I mean, just looking at the cover, put the cover back up for me, JD, if you can. All right. So let's just break down who's on the cover here. At 12 o'clock at the top, you have a brand new Jedi from the High Republic era. Don't remember her name off the top of my head. But then you start going to the right, you got a clone trooper. You got the battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. And then you have young Han Solo. You know, everybody's kind of pushed that aside, but there he is, young Han Solo. We get, I believe that is, what's the name? The Ghost from Rebels, Rogue One. We got the Death Star run and Vader. We got the Millennium Falcon. We got Grogu. Then we got Boba Fett, but from the Book of Boba Fett, when he got the paint job, or maybe it's from Mandalorian, but we got Kylo Ren, we got Rey, we got Finn. So you've got all the different eras on that. And then on the back, I don't think he has a picture of the back, but you got Princess Leia, you got cartoon or comic book version of Ahsoka Tano, you got Obi-Wan, and then you've got Dr. Aphra, who, to the best of my knowledge, has not appeared in anything but the comics to this point. So, Keeve Trennis from High Republic. Thank you, Jeff. But so from that point of view, it is one of the most encompassing books I've ever seen, in that it does take all the different elements that exist in Star Wars. Now, had this been done back when all of the extended stuff was part of it, this book would be about that big. But now that it's just what is considered officially canon, but that's another way to look and see if certain things are canon. You know, how much of Heir of Empire is canon? How much of the video games, you know, the whole Cal Kestis thing, Clone Wars, all that stuff gets talked about in here. The other interesting thing is they'll be doing like these timelines. Like here's a Clone Wars timeline section. It says a Republic changed. And it's going through all of this stuff. And this is Era of the prequels. And we get through all this, and then you turn the page, and suddenly you get a timeline all about Boba Fett. Which you think, well, that doesn't make sense. Boba Fett was the age of, or the rebellion age, or the age of the rebellion. Except this goes all the way back to the cloning and the birth of Boba Fett, which did take place during the prequels. So even though it seems like it's out of place because the bulk of what happened to him takes place later, it starts all the way back there. So you get these little stories. The story of Luke. There's an entire 2-page spread on Luke's lightsaber and where it's been. How it ended up with Finn and Rey and all the travels from that. Or here's a real rare one. If you this whole section is based on Operation Cinder. Now, Operation Cinder was something that happened in the video games. I don't remember which video game it was. I think it was, they don't tell me, and I don't remember off the top of my head. But where an entire, what planet was it? But basically an entire planet was destroyed with some troops on there. And it's referenced in The Mandalorian and with Bill Burr's character, Miggs. Yeah. Well, this guy right here is the officer that Bill Burr's character kills in the canteen in The Mandalorian. So, I mean, they really do a good deep dive into this book. You know, here's a picture of young Wedge, or Wedge Antilles. Battle of Jakku. We got the whole era of the New Republic with Mandalorian and stuff like that. So I think this is a really cool book from the point of view of it being all-encompassing and bringing in everything that's happened so far. That said, though, it's already out of date. Ed says, when I looked at the first few pages on Amazon, the eras you're talking about now, I saw New Hope, but didn't see Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, any of those. Did I overlook them, or did they leave them out or rename them? The way this is set up, it doesn't really go by the movie names. That era is considered the Age of Rebellion. Okay, and it's broken down into the Age of Rebellion is an overview, and the first chapter is called A New Hope. Then the Battle of Yavin, after Yavin, Rebellion, Momentum, Anakin Skywalker, Vader's Ambition, Galactic Betrayal, Evil Awakens, Imperial Entanglements, Luke Skywalker, the Battle of Hoth. So they don't break it down necessarily by the names of the movies. They break them down by the events that happen in them. So yeah, it's all in here, but it's broken down by the Battle of Endor, after Endor, Operation Cinder, Relentless Battles, Shifting Alliances, War on the Bounty Hunters. So because there are so many different things it pulls from, and it's not pulling necessarily in by the project, because like I said, War of the Bounty Hunters is a comic book storyline, and in here it takes place before the Battle of Endor, but after the Battle of Hoth. So they're treating it like a true timeline. So yeah, Empire Strikes Back would be included in here, but it wouldn't necessarily be its own section because it has different things that happen, So that's how it breaks down. Hey, Backwood, good to see you. JD says Operation Cinder was the Emperor's posthumous orders to carpet bomb all Empire planets for failing to prevent his death. Yep, and that's canon in the Star Wars universe. So, by the way, I picked this up for, I think it was $32 on Amazon. So it's already knocked off of the cover price on Amazon because it's $50 cover price. So definitely look for a discount on it. But yeah, I haven't had a chance to really dig deep into it, but just from the lineup and stuff, I think this is awesome. All right, I'm running long here. So JD, let's do a super short break and we'll come back. We'll blast through some comics and call it a day. So we'll be right back.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code. Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dan WIckline Show here on The Experience. And I was just thinking, if there are any topics you guys want me to cover whether it's a show you want me to start covering, or a character you want me to do a deep dive on, a movie to rewatch and do a review of, or anything like that. Just drop me a line. Probably the best way to get a hold of me nowadays is like Lucia did. Reach out to me on Twitter. My name there is just my name. So just look for Dan WIckline on there and follow me on there, and send me a message, whether as a reply or as a DM or something, and I'll see what I can do about covering that topic. All right, let's go through some covers real quick. I decided, because I didn't have anything specifically that matched up, Frank Miller is being talked about a lot right now because he's doing some new covers for Marvel, and Frank Miller was very informative of my love of Daredevil and comics and stuff growing up. So I thought I would do some key early issues of Frank Miller Daredevil. So first off, Daredevil 168, there's a lot going on here. Besides it being the first appearance and origin of Elektra, it's also the first solo written work by Frank Miller. He had originally started as an artist and then co-wrote and then took over the book on this issue. And this is where Elektra gets introduced. High end on this is 380, median's 125, low end is 35. After that, we have Daredevil 169. Now, this is the second appearance of Elektra, and it shows kind of where Frank's going, because now we got Bullseye into the mix. So that's another major component of that first Elektra saga that we went through. High end on this is 50, low end is 5 with 15 in the middle. All right, then we get Daredevil 170 from 1981. This might blow your mind. This is the first time that Kingpin appeared in a Daredevil comic, and it's the first time we found out his name was Wilson Fisk. All the time we had seen him over in Spider-Man, he was just Kingpin. High end on this is $35, median's $9, low end is $3. Daredevil 171, this is the first time Daredevil and Kingpin actually fought each other, and we got to see how, just there was some amazing stuff that Frank Miller did with Kingpin to make him a Frank Miller character over what he had been previously. High end here is $40, median's $12, low end's $4. Daredevil 174, this is the first appearance of the Hand, who becomes a huge villain and a big part of the Elektra saga. Plus, it's got Gladiator, Melvin Potter, who was always a great character. This also introduces the assassins Genin, Kurigi, and the Jonin. This is high end's $30, median's $9, low end is $3. And then Daredevil 176, first appearance of Stick, the sensei and mentor for both Daredevil and Elektra. High end on this is $25, median's $8, low end is $2. Daredevil 178. Now, this was the first meeting of Daredevil and the Heroes for Hire guys, Luke Cage and Iron Fist. This goes for $25, $8, and $2. Then we have Daredevil 181. This is the big one. I saved up for a long time to be able to buy this after the fact. I didn't pick it up off the newsstand. I went back, and my Daredevil collection is one of the things I'm very proud of, and I went back and got this. This was the death of Elektra, skewered by Bullseye, and one of the most graphic, but also one of the most iconic images ever. High end on this is $65, median is $18, low is $5. Then we have Daredevil 183. Believe it or not, this is the first battle of Daredevil versus the Punisher. High end here is $40, median is $12, low end is $4. And then we get to Daredevil 190. This isn't a high-priced comic, but this is the resurrection and the retelling of the origin of Elektra. High end's only $9, median's $2, low end's $1. Now, just this run, this is all before Daredevil Born Again happens in the comics, which is going to be huge coming up. So we're going to come back to these and do Born Again soon. But all of these, you just see how many components of what we consider are staples in Daredevil's life didn't happen until 160 some odd issues into his run when Frank Miller took over. Punisher and Daredevil, Elektra in Daredevil, Kingpin in Daredevil, all were brought in because of Frank Miller, and then what he did with Bullseye to make him the ultimate arch nemesis. So yeah, I think this run is phenomenal. Even the in between connector ones. This is one that I went back to get all of, and I think is just going to go up in value, especially when Daredevil Born Again comes out. So, all right, guys, I think we are going to wrap it up there. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you all have a great weekend, but stick around. We got a lot of great stuff, not only tonight, but over the weekend. We got Country Road Comics. We've got Fat Jack's Comic Crypt is back. We've got the Original Art Experience. We've got Friday Night Live with Comics Unlimited. We've got our Saturday Night Dance Party over on TikTok. So there's a lot of great stuff coming up over the next few days. Also, I'm going to be doing some videos or some posts on the social media about the Eisner Awards, who, kind of highlighting the different categories and who got picked. So a lot of stuff going on over the next few days. So stick around, have a great weekend, and I'll see you all on Tuesday.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.